Muted. Muted. Chatars. Let us begin. Okay. Let's go. Let us begin, my friends. Welcome to another HealthyGamerGG stream. If you still think I'm muted, maybe you were the one who was muted. Not muted. What is it? Silent? Deafened? Deafened? Sound is off? Turn up the volume? Unmute. Unmute. Let's go, boys, girls, everything in between. All right. Welcome to another HealthyGamerGG stream. My name is Dr. Alu Kanoja. I'm a psychiatrist practicing in Boston, Massachusetts. Just a reminder that everything we discuss on the stream is intended to be for educational purposes only, and nothing is intended to be construed as medical advice. If you guys have a mental health concern, physical health concern, please go see a licensed professional and get some individual attention. We're just here for the lulz and to teach people something, a little something about mental health. So, first up, 2 weeks ago, we talked with, was it 2 weeks ago? The stock guy, I think, right? And at the end of the stock guy, instead of meditating, what we did is we used a dowsing pendant. Let me see if I can find my dowsing pendant. Here's the dowsing pendant. 1 week ago, 2 weeks ago, man, time is such a blur for me nowadays with the Texas snowstorm. So we used this 20-year-old dowsing pendant, which had been sitting in a, bag of mine, which I picked up in India during my wayward years when I was exploring, all these different things like energy healing and crystal healing and things like that, yoga, meditation. And so what people don't know is that, I studied a lot of stuff, right? So, for 7 years, I just studied all kinds of random stuff. And then, after that, I studied things that are more understandable. Like I did neuroscience research for a couple of years and then went to medical school and became a psychiatrist and things like that. But for 15, 16 years, I was just studying all kinds of different stuff. And then one of the things I learned was how to dowse. And so back then I had this theory. I was like, well, I wonder if you could dowse and pick stocks based on dowsing. And so we got to have this little experiment with the stock guy. And I kid you guys not, apparently, according to the stock guy, and I could be I heard this on, not from him directly, but through the grapevine, that literally the stock that we picked is his best performing stock of the week. So, yeah. Dowsing? Okay, so see, this is cool. People don't even know what dowsing is. So dowsing is a method of, I kid you guys not, it is a method of divination, okay? So it's using this thing to determine, so what you do is you spin this around, okay? You adopt a particular meditative state, use these special secret mantras, and then you feel what direction this thing is pulling you. And based on that, we picked a stock. So what I did is I took a bunch of, I just wrote a bunch of letters on a piece of paper. And then I let the pendant pick the letters for the stock. And apparently it is his best performing stock. So let that be a lesson to everyone that when you have a sample size of 1, anything is possible. When n equals 1, any result is possible. And so, for those of you who are trained in science, you will understand that joke. But yeah, so that's what dowsing is. So dowsing is used to find water in the desert and stuff like that. They have these rods and stuff. It's super mystical pseudoscience kind of BS sort of stuff. And so, this thing has just been sitting in my, it's been sitting in my closet because, here at Healthy Gamer, we teach a lot of stuff that is a little bit, unconventional. But generally speaking, we use evidence-based methodologies, right? So the reason we teach yoga and meditation and this yogic philosophy and stuff is because the data actually supports that this stuff is efficacious. So meditation is an evidence-based treatment for depression, anxiety, ADHD, has clinical benefits in hypertension, rheumatoid arthritis, even reduces pain of patients with cancer. So what we emphasize here at Healthy Gamer tends to be evidence-based. Now I talk a lot. I mean, a lot of my clinical understanding and my theoretical understanding has not been studied, right? So that's what tends to happen is we study the most basic stuff first, and then we do advanced studies. So a lot of the meditation that I teach, my theories about particular meditations for particular people are not actually, there have not been studies on that. But if you guys like, if y'all were watching on Friday's stream, like Los is a great example of like someone who's like, yeah, I don't know how to meditate. I don't think I'm going to be good at that. And then 60 seconds in, he's like, wow, that's amazing. So as a clinician, when I see that, I'm like, oh, maybe I'm actually like onto something, and there's something to this theoretical basis. There's a lot of clinical anecdotal evidence for a lot of the stuff that we kind of do here on stream. But, we tend to steer clear of things like crystal healing and dowsing and other wild stuff. But if you guys want to, we can, I can teach you guys or tell you guys stories about, my journey to become a Bach flower healer therapist. And using Bach flower remedies, where I paid a dude, like $300 to become a flower healer, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's using the healing power of flowers to cure whatever ails you. And so like this is the thing that I don't think we really like. We don't really. It's interesting because we were talking at Healthy, at the Healthy Gamer staff, and one of our staff members was kind of emphasizing that like. So the reason that we're successful is because like the reason that I'm actually like I know so much stuff that I think people find beneficial is because I learned a lot of crap that was a complete waste of time. And so the advantage of Healthy Gamer is there's like a lot of bogus information out there, right? And so like our goal at Healthy Gamer or my personal journey has been sifting through all kinds of crap that doesn't work. And then what we share with you guys on stream, what our coaching program is sort of based on, is like the crap that works, right? So there's like a lot of evidence about like what works in psychotherapy relationships and what part of that can be taken out of a clinical kind of setting. And can you apply like the roots of what's effective about a one-on-one interpersonal relationship to things outside of clinical illness, like helping people become motivated and happy and finding purpose and overcoming their self-sabotage and things like that. Those are not clinical illnesses. And so like what we've done at Healthy Gamer is like I've sorted through a lot of crap, okay? Let me just see if I can... Hold on, you guys want lore? Let me find you some lore. Hold on. Okay, so hold on. Okay. Hold on. I gotta have a crappy book somewhere around here. Okay, here we go. So here's number 1. One second, chat. 1 second, hold on. Okay, here's book number 2. And then, hold on, let me just tell you. Okay. Book number 3. Okay. So let me explain to you guys what we do at Healthy Gamer, okay? So I just pulled up... Thick? Okay. Okay. So here's what we're effective at, okay? So like here's a book. Passage Meditation by Eknath Easwaran. So I don't think this book is great. I've read it. It's a particular dude's, like, I like Eknath Easwaran. Good author. Developed his own, like, particular meditation regimen. I don't think it's that great. Okay? So this is what we've done. Okay? So then there's Manas, Psychiatry of Ayurveda. Banaras Ayurveda series number 35. Okay? And so this is like, this one's pretty good. Right? So like, it's okay, but it's like hard to understand. So for example, Raksasa, and Pisaka. Right? So I'll read this to you guys. So Rakshasas and Pisakas, types of evil demons, possess person who do not have... Oh, this is too good. You guys have to see this for yourself. Okay. Rakshasas and Pisakas possess person who do not have... Oh, wait, that's over here. Who do not have willpower, who is a backbiter, who is fond of women, who is greedy and a cheat. Generally on the 2nd, 3rd, or 8th day of the fortnight, in an opportune moment, at the sight of some of his weak points. The premonitory symptoms of the exogenous type of insanity caused by the ill effects of anger of the gods are as follows. Okay, This is Ayurvedic psychiatry. This is a book about Ayurvedic psychiatry. Okay, and then we have book number 3, which is neurobehavioral anatomy. So let's find a passage on this. Okay, let me find an appropriate one. This is cool. Okay. So then we have auditory agnosia. Okay? So auditory agnosia is an impairment in the ability to recognize speech or nonverbal sounds in the presence of adequate hearing. So what this literally means is that some people have something called auditory agnosia, which is like when you hear my words, your ear is hearing the sounds and it translates the sounds into words and meanings. And so auditory agnosia is like when the part of your brain is kind of busted that you can hear, but the part of your brain that attaches meaning and deciphers combinations of sounds as words is busted. So this is Healthy Gamer's journey, okay? This is the journey of Healthy Gamer. It's, neurobehavioral anatomy, random book on meditation by a dude who's competent in English, and then really random stuff who like dudes in India who don't understand English and who are talking about, demonic possession, making people greedy and vulnerable to women. Right? Yeah. And so what we do here at Healthy Gamer is like there's the dowsing pendants and then there's like the meditation techniques. And so I've studied a lot of stuff, and believe me, like a lot of this stuff is wild, man. Like, I don't know if have y'all seen Wild Wild Country? So this is the other thing. So like people don't know this, but like some time ago, I went to the Osho ashram in Pune, India. And it was like noped the F out of that. Like, I walked in, it was like weird, man. Turned around and walked out. Like, I like some of Osho's books. I think like he has a very good understanding of meditation. But, as part of I just walked out. Like, it was weird. Like, there were people there, and it was like they wanted me to take an HIV test before they'd let me in, and like, it was just, it's weird, man. It's super culty vibe. Like, I just walked in, and it just felt weird. It's hard to describe. And just, it's just strange. Like, so what we try to do at Healthy Gamer is take all of this, like, I want you guys to think about this. We take 15 years of this kind of crap, and then we distill it into what works and what doesn't work. And I think that's why we're good. And so a lot of people are like, how do I do this? How do I do this? Like, I want you guys to like, really like try to, by all means explore on your own, but also benefit from other people's explorations. And so going back to dowsing and the stock guy. So one of the things that I learned was dowsing. So I learned how to dowse. I paid a dude like a couple $100 to teach me how to dowse. And then like, all the time I'm like, is this stuff really work? Okay, whatever. He's like, yeah, you will, if you do the dowsing, you will have all of the money in the world. You'll find it. All of your dreams will come true. I guarantee you. Full price guarantee. No money back. Take it. This dowsing pendant I will sell for 210 rupees. I don't know if you guys can see that. 210 rupees. 210 rupees is $3. Very good. Very good. And apparently we made the stock guy a bunch of money with my little dowsing pendants. So, we'll see how that goes. Cultometer, 5 being high. Okay, we're very cultish today. Good to know. So getting on to more cultometer level stuff. Man, I really gotta check out this book, yo. This is too good. Check that out, chat. Duma smoking therapy. I don't know exactly what that means. Anyway, there's just a lot of like weird wisdom in all corners of the world. Okay. So I don't think it's not smoking weed. You guys shouldn't use marijuana or nicotine. This is the Ayurvedic, so they use like different kinds of herbs and stuff to, purify. You guys definitely should not smoke. I do not think it is good. But let's get on to so today we've got viewer call-ins. So here's the reason. So I don't think marijuana is. So some people will use marijuana clinically, right? So there's evidence that shows that marijuana is like, especially CBD, the CBD component can be beneficial for anxiety and stuff. The reason that I really don't advocate for the use of marijuana, especially in our community, is because marijuana tampers with your motivation circuitry. So it hampers like a lot of your kind of habit forming and motivational kind of stuff, like your and so people just who use marijuana, like, they tend to be less productive. So let's get to yeah, I mean, it's, it's like people think like, oh, I've smoked marijuana my entire life and I'm still plenty smart. It doesn't affect your IQ, it affects your motivational circuitry. Okay, so you guys want more lore? Hold on. Hold on. Okay, so what are we doing today? Let me just see if I can find this paper for y'all. Yeah, like this is not good, right? I'm gonna show you guys something. I don't know exactly what this paper says, but right, like this is like kind of dangerous stuff. You guys ready? Right, so this is kind of dangerous, like long-term marijuana use and cognitive impairment in middle age. Like, steer clear of that stuff, chat. It's really got to be careful. So, okay, so today what we're gonna do, yeah, I mean, a lot of this stuff may be behind paywalls, right? But let me, marijuana use and long-term cognitive impairment. I actually don't know what the paper says. It may say that there's actually not an impact, to be honest. I don't know that paper over the last. Okay, here's the abstract. It's in JAMA. It does look like it affects verbal memory. So their findings suggest that those who used marijuana on a long-term daily basis have poorer verbal memory in middle age than do their peers who have not smoked marijuana habitually. So the papers that I'm looking for that make me concerned about marijuana have more to do with motivation. So it's not, but there are negative effects long-term, looks like. And that's going to be true of basically most substances. Yeah, I think if you guys are routinely using marijuana, you guys should probably go see, like, go to a marijuana anonymous meeting, or go talk to a licensed professional about it. And it's not necessarily that you have to quit or anything. I would just go talk to a licensed professional about, say, hey, I smoke every day. Is this a problem? And get educated. Like, go talk to your doctor about it. Talk to someone about it and get. Speaking of talking to people, today we are going to do. We're gonna do viewer call-ins. So let's get started. Oh, here we go. Chattars. Yeah, so for people who smoke a lot. Oh, hey.
Hey.
What's up, man?
What's up? Hi, that's okay. So I've been watching you for like a long time, so late 2019. And it feels like my struggle is slightly related to that, but in my own way. So to put it simply, I feel like I seek a lot of knowledge or options and basically knowledge and things that I should do, methods, instead of doing the things that are often uncomfortable or hard to keep up. The example that I was telling French, or how I began explaining, was that sorry, I'm getting notifications, so I'm going to try and mute that. Feels like I know a lot of the things you've said and explained, a lot of the content, and it essentially just feels like I don't do the thing. And a more concrete example is when I'm applying to jobs. I'm supposed to be applying to jobs, and I have a big imposter syndrome, and it's super uncomfortable to apply to a certain job. I kind of don't catch myself, and I kind of give in to the imposter syndrome and go do the thing that feels most urgent at that time, which is finish up the last project, or my portfolio site isn't finished, so I'm going to go do that instead of facing the uncomfortable thing. And I'm aware of all of these things. I'm aware, but not so aware that I actually stop myself or begin doing these things.
And what do you go by? Should I call you
Uh,
Storm or
Storm.
what?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Storm, it's a really fantastic question. I'm really glad you shared this question with everyone. So I'm going to just recap what I heard. Okay. So the question is, I know that I need to do a lot of stuff, but what I end up doing is like seeking knowledge or information to try to so instead of doing the thing, I just learn about how to do the thing. And despite learning, like gaining so much information about what I should be doing or how I should be doing it, I just wind up not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a good?
Yeah. It is. I think it's also connected just with the fact that in the moment when I'm uncomfortable with something, so the French helped me direct this question. So like in that moment, I'm not facing up doing the uncomfortable thing. I'm thinking back a bit into comfort of seeking more knowledge and finishing up something that I feel is connected to the uncomfortable thing and not just doing the uncomfortable thing.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So like
Yeah.
basically like here's what I'm hearing. Like you feel uncomfortable about applying to a job. So what you'll do is figure out how to make like the perfect you'll spend a lot of time maybe like figuring out how to make a good resume. You'll read about how to interview properly. You'll collect a lot of information and won't actually like to set yourself up to do well in the job application process, but you won't apply to the job. Is that fair?
Yeah. Also because I get overwhelmed because there's a lot of options, a lot of articles, a
Sure,
lot of things.
sure. So let's think about this, okay? So when you what does it how do you feel before you seek information and after you seek information?
Before I seek information, I feel like it's like energy in my chest, anxiety,
Okay.
right? Or a bit of a gut feeling that I don't I don't match up against the description, or I'm not going to be ready. Um, and after the information, that all that information combined with not doing that much, then I get like mental pressure. It goes from my more or less chest and stomach to my head, and then I'm like, there's so much. I'm gonna do the next thing, so I move into the next. Yeah, the next immediately. The one urgent thing that feels that I should do, but not consolidate, not.
Yeah.
Um,
So
yeah,
let's just think through this, okay? So what I want you to understand is that anxiety is about facing the uncertain and you're not sure about what's going to happen, right? Because you feel like an imposter. So not only are you not sure about what's going to happen, but you're afraid that because you're an imposter, things will go poorly. And so then what your mind does is you feel really anxious and your mind is like, oh no, like this is not going to go well for me or it may not go well for me. So let me try to even the odds. And then your
yeah.
mind seeks information. And if you really look at it, seeking information helps you feel better because now you're like, okay, every bit of information I get like sort of evens the odds against my imposter syndrome. What do you think about that?
Yes, and at the same time, it worsens my imposter syndrome.
Yep, absolutely. So
Like,
this is beautiful. Okay, so like I mean, it's beautiful because you figured this out. So let me explain to you what's going on. Can you hold on just 1 second?
of course.
Wait.
Yeah. Hey, Zach.
What does a bit mean? You gotta be a little bit specific with that.
Because like there's something that we, I've written precisely about this.
Hmm.
Anyway, I'll just explain. I'll just explain. I won't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So here's the issue. There are a couple issues here. Okay. So the first is that I want you to recognize that when you're feeling anxious, you want anxiety is you facing uncertainty and not being confident in yourself to handle uncertainty. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so if we think about it, like the ability to face uncertainty is precisely what confidence is. So like if we think about it, facing, if you know what's going to happen, you don't need confidence. Confidence is your ability to believe that you are capable of dealing with what comes. And that confidence by necessity requires uncertainty. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so there are a couple of really interesting things happening. So first of all, you're not confident in yourself. You have imposter syndrome. And so then what happens is like you try to get more information to stack the deck in your favor and improve your odds. And the funny thing is, even if you succeeded at that, we'll get to that in a second. Even if you succeeded at that and you got the job, would you be more confident afterward?
I have no way of knowing. At this point, it feels like even if I get the job, then there's going to be other things.
Exactly.
Sorry. Yeah, no, go on.
Yeah, so this is the wild thing is even if you got the job, your confidence would not increase. Actually, your imposter syndrome would increase. Because in your mind, the only reason you got the job is because you sought out all of this information to stack the deck in your favor. And it's not you that got the job. It's like all of this extra stuff that you did that caused you to get the job. Does that make sense? It's like really crazy. And this is why imposter syndrome builds up despite success. So if you look at imposter syndrome, the more successful people are, the more their imposter syndrome is bad. It's really wild. But the biggest imposters are the people who are the most successful. And the reason is because you're not really testing yourself, right? Like you're not like showing up at the job interview, just you, and you're saying, here is what I am, take me or reject me. What you're doing is like all these tips and tricks and this and that, and you're trying to mold things into your favor. Because this is the other problem is when people have anxiety and they lack confidence, like you don't think you can handle it on your own. So you basically need to use like little life hacks or cheats to make sure that it goes well. And this is the real problem with people who are anxious and lack confidence, is that the only chance they're willing to take is no chance at all. So I'm only going to apply to college when I know I'm going to get in. I'm only going to show up at the job interview when I'm sure that they're going to hire me. And that's why... right? Because every time you get more information, you're trying to get one step closer to the guaranteed success.
That's funny. So you're spot on. And so like the funny thing, feels like my problem is that I'm aware of all the feelings I have. And so at this point, it doesn't even feel like imposter syndrome. It just feels like you've been failing for 6 months. So, and a perfect example is that instead of like, I don't know, like doing the big project that I know I wanted to do while applying to jobs, I constantly went back to the project because I was not confident in applying to jobs. And that project took so long, and now it's been 4 months. And me, that was supposedly the best technical guy in the class at the time after graduation, this boot camp, now still doesn't have a job 6 months later. So it doesn't even feel like an imposter syndrome. It's just like, aha, yep, there you go.
Yep. And so this is, and that's it's so damning, dude. Like if you're the best technical guy in this boot camp, that's so hard. So that, remember I said, more success leads to more imposter syndrome. And so I think what happened to you there is like, since you're viewed as the best, that is actually going to enhance your imposter syndrome. It doesn't surprise me at all that you did a boot camp where people rated you as the best. Because that means that like now you have this pressure, you have this expectation to fill, which is that you have to get a job. But then it's not really about the job. It becomes about like you struggling with this expectation. And now the problem is that you've built such a reputation for yourself that it's impossible to fill. And like, this is really tricky because if you're the best technical person in the boot camp and you apply for a job and they don't get it, then what are you?
So
you're an imposter. So
yeah,
this is
and
the
not only
crazy.
that,
This is
saying that like even I've been aware that that technical thing isn't that important, especially like after boot camp. Like, well, you're supposed to help your technical knowledge, even if it isn't that detailed, with what's called soft skills, applying, communication, and so on. And I know that's where I fail, and that's the hardest thing to work on. And it keeps.
No,
yeah.
I don't even know if you fail there, because I think the problem is you may be good at the soft skills. I think so. This is getting weird, but like, let me just take a step back for a second. So I think the problem is that, you have this mantle. You're like a kid who's told that he's the smartest kid in the class. And now the problem is that, like, if you try something and fail, like, you're no longer that thing. So there's a part of your mind that says, as long as we never apply for a job, we can never get it rejected. And as long as we never get rejected, then we can hold on to being the best technical kid in the class.
Yeah, but that doesn't even matter anymore. But I understand it's something that's so.
No, of course it does, right? So in your mind, it matters.
Oh, okay, I think I get what you mean, because, well, I keep going back working on technical things. Like, the technical thing is like what matters, right? So that's the only thing I keep coming back on.
You don't need to work on anything. So that's the whole problem, Storm.
No, that's what I feel like.
Exactly. But that's what I want you to understand, is that when you work on something, you're trying to reassure yourself to the point of no longer being anxious. You're trying to take the anxiety away by working on things until they're perfect. And if there's perfect, there's no uncertainty. And if there's no uncertainty, there's no anxiety. And so your mind is trying to find perfection, which will never exist, which is exactly why you're stuck. Because your mind is saying, I'm going to apply for a job when I'm 100% sure that I'm going to get it. Because I'm going to know so much, I'm going to be so good at technicals that they won't be able to turn me down. And the basic issue is that there is never a situation where you can walk into a job and guarantee it 100%. But that is your requirement to apply. And just think about how paralyzing that is. That your requirement to apply is a guarantee of acceptance. And you're stuck.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you deal with it? Right? So this is where the first thing to understand is that, like, notice that the things that you do to relieve your anxiety are actually the problem. The anxiety is not the problem. The response to the anxiety is the problem.
Yeah.
The response, and you've already recognized this because you come to me and you frame the problem very well. You say, instead of doing stuff, I seek information. So then the question is, what does that information do? It makes you feel temporarily like the anxiety is getting better because you're moving towards a goal that you'll never reach. And at the end of the day, what you have to do is just take the plunge, right? And this is where, like, what I want you to do is, like, I know it sounds really weird, but the next time you feel anxious, don't let yourself seek information. Because that's the real tricky thing. Because the problem with anxiety is that the strategies that we use to deal with the problem are usually the problem. Like, if you think about addictions, right? Like, it's not... Anxiety isn't the problem. It's the fact that I use marijuana every day to alleviate my anxiety. That's the problem. And so this is the wild thing, is it's our adaptations and our strategies that we use to deal with our problems that are usually the biggest problem. It's our response to the issue. So I want you to not get any more information because, like, it's never going to help. Right? And then you're going to say, but if I don't get information, then I could fail. I may not get the job. And that's where, like, exactly.
Yep.
So what you need to do is be prepared to fail. Like, I don't want you to try to succeed, because getting more information is about moving closer to success. What you need to do is move closer to failure. And let yourself fail. And the more that you let yourself fail, like, if success is the thing that you're going for, you can never act. But if you don't care about failure, then action becomes very easy. Does that make sense? Like you're saying, I can't act because I'm always getting information. Like I need to do better. I need to succeed. I need to succeed. I need to be good. Everyone thinks I'm good and I don't feel like I'm good. And I need to live up to this expectation. I'm an imposter. So if instead of being an imposter, just be a failure. Don't even pretend to be successful. Just if you suck at life, just suck, but do it. And let yourself fail. Be prepared for failure. And that's where confidence comes from. I know it sounds really, really bizarre, but confidence comes from surviving failure, not from succeeding. Chain success leads to imposter syndrome. Surviving failure is what leads to confidence and what shatters it.
I can know that. I can repeat that to other people. I don't understand it, like the whole nyan. And,
Yep. So this is where.
But don't do it for myself. Yeah.
So Storm, I'm telling you, in the tiniest way, the next time you feel anxious about something, your mind is going to go seek information. It's not you're trying to force yourself to do. Instead, start by not doing the information seeking, and recognize, or even if you do it, gain awareness about what happens as you seek information. So I want you to sit down like it, and you're saying like, oh, I need to do this before I apply. And so just like notice that, where does that need come from? And what you'll find is that need comes from a desire to avoid failure, to avoid embarrassment. And so what's really driving you is a desire, like is an avoidance of things. And just notice that. And then you have a choice. Either you give into it or you don't give into it. If you give into it, that means you go seek information. And then what I want you to do is, as you're seeking information, close your eyes after 30 minutes and then say, what happened to that feeling of avoiding failure? Where did it go? And then you'll see immediately, oh, wow, it's gone. I feel so much better now. And so then you'll see that
30 minutes after what?
After you seek the information. So like you start opening things, you're working on your resume, you're Googling workshops, you're doing all this like stuff that never amounts to anything, right? But as you're doing that crap, notice what happens to your anxiety, and you'll see that anxiety goes away. And then you have a really tricky problem, because what is the solution to your anxiety, Storm?
It just go back to those things. Well, it's that method, that
absolute
cycle.
So now we see the problem isn't that you're stuck. The problem is that your mind has found a perfect way to deal with anxiety. The only problem is the cost of that dealing with your anxiety is being stuck in life.
Yeah, it feels like I've been stuck in life for, I don't know, really before this whole bootcamp thing, like 6 years.
Yeah. And so I think it's like a deep thing where like you have to, and so what I want you to do is like just see that this thing is your addiction. That seeking information is your addiction. And the first thing to do is just notice that this thing actually doesn't help you. Notice that it deals with your anxiety. And then if you can, the next step is to not indulge it. So don't even worry about applying for the job right now. Just try not to seek information and make your anxiety feel better. And as you learn to tolerate anxiety, then you'll be able to apply for the job, because then you don't retreat from the job by seeking information. Does that make sense?
It does. So it feels like the last, I don't know, it comes and goes. But so this last few days or weeks, it feels like it's there. It just I guess I just need the understanding, not the knowledge, not just you telling me that, but me understanding that and catching myself at the time.
And so now we're going to stop, because as you continue to talk to me, you're going to gain more information. And so like more information is not going to be necessary, right? So now go and be aware of yourself. Notice the anxiety, notice your desire to seek information, notice what happens when you do seek the information. And then notice what happens when you don't let yourself seek the information.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Got it?
Got it.
Good luck, Storm.
Thank you. Thank you for everything. See you.
You're very welcome, man. Come back and tell me you failed. Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good, dude. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Well, kind of good. Anyway, I had a question for you, right? I was just wondering what your thoughts were on suicide as it relates to a person's karma or a soul's karma and the process of reincarnation.
Sure, great question. So, so the karma is like a balance sheet. Okay, well, there are a couple of different interpretations of karma, but given the question that you're asking, I'm going to explain like how I'm conceptualizing karma, okay? So the karma is like a balance sheet of like stuff, right? That you owe to other people and that other people owe you. And this is where unfortunately suicide doesn't help at all. So like some people think like, oh, if I end this life, then I'll get to re-roll. But the problem with karma is that like the whole idea behind karma and reincarnation is that it follows you from life to life, right? That there's like this cosmic balance sheet that like actually transcends a particular life. So I would say that I think about karma and suicidality in the same way that I think about leaving your dishes in the dirty dishes in the sink overnight when you go to bed. They're still going to be there in the morning. And so this is really, really challenging, but sometimes I'll get, patients in my office who are like super into Eastern stuff. And they're like, I'm suicidal. Can I just do a redo? And I'm like, unfortunately, no, you're probably going to have to deal with the same crap in the next, like if you believe in the theory of karma, that is. So we don't really know that it's true or not, but if you sort of believe in this stuff, the whole point of the theory of karma is that you carry things from one life to the next. So every day when I go to sleep, all of the problems that I've left in my house are going to be there when I wake up. And so what I strongly encourage people to do is if they want a good next life, like you have to fix those problems in this life because this is the life where they're presenting themselves. So I strongly encourage people and work very hard with people to like, okay, if you're suicidal, why are you suicidal? What is it that you need to do to make this life worth living? And that's what you should do.
Interesting. Okay, that's interesting because I am exactly the type of patient you were talking about how I believe very much in Eastern philosophy, Jyotish, Ayurveda, Vastu. I use these things in my daily life. But then I started having these thoughts, and I was like, well, why? Because I feel like with the beliefs that I have, I'm not sure why I would be thinking this way. So it was actually confusing to me. Um, so that's an interesting perspective, you know. I guess I do need to think more about why I feel that way in the first place.
Absolutely. So that's also so a couple of things, and these aren't just disclaimers, but I think like if you're dealing with suicidal thoughts, like so one of the tools. So let's just think about your karma for a second, okay? So you're like alive in 2021, where you have access to the internet, you have access to Healthy Gamer, and you also have access to licensed mental health professionals. If you were born 2,000 years ago and you were dealing with suicidality, you may not have had access to that. So I think one thing to remember about your karma is that if you're dealing with a particular problem, look at what tools your karma has given you to deal with those problems. And so I would avail yourself of every opportunity to work through the things that are kind of holding you back. And professional
Mm-hmm.
mental health treatment may be a part of that. I mean, if you're into Vastu and stuff like that's cool too. Um, and so I think like if you're kind of curious about this stuff, I know it sounds really bizarre, but I've even had some people come to me, and you may fall into this camp too, that it's my suicidality that helped me really understand and explore some of these concepts like karma and reincarnation, which like just felt like philosophy to me until I really started like dealing with these problems. And so it's our problems that help us guide our our study and our growth. Because if there wasn't a problem, then I like would never explore it.
True, true. Yeah, I think I have a lot of exploring to do in this lifetime with feelings of like existential depression and all that stuff. Because for a while I thought that once I discovered all these Eastern philosophies and Eastern beliefs, and they brought me a great deal of comfort. I was also simultaneously um, using a bunch of drugs because I'm an addict. So I was really covering up the feelings that were making me search for, solutions and drugs in the first place. So yeah, that's interesting. I've kind of had that back and forth between using using substances to cover up depression and just basically like I'm the type of person that feels like if I can't have fun in life, then what's the point? I think I'm very spoiled in some regards with that because I just want to have fun. I just want to like, laugh and have a good time. But
Yeah,
whenever I'm confronted with like, real stuff, I
no,
kind of just want to escape.
sure. And
And
what
I
do you
think
go
that's
by,
where the
friend?
comes.
What should I call you?
My my name's Bryce.
Bryce. So Bryce, I think
Hmm.
you asked that question like it's a rhetorical question. If I can't have fun, what's the point in life? Whereas if I had to say one thing to you, it's find an answer to that question.
Hmm. Wait, say that again.
So you said this, you're like, what's the point of life if I can't have fun? I've been spoiled. Yeah, whatever, man. Like, but what I'm telling you is like, given just what I'm hearing, so you're a contemplative guy, you're a thoughtful guy, you explore a lot of different traditions, right? You're like, it sounds like you're a thinker. And so I think you should try to answer that question. Like, what's the point in life if you can't have fun?
Right. Yeah. I think sometimes I get frustrated easily, right, when I'm presented with problems. I also have autism. I was diagnosed with Asperger's, but of course it's just called autism now. So I have, problems with frustration, and just working, doing like normal life stuff, like basic stuff, like you know, job, social interactions. I don't know, stuff like that. I don't really know exactly where I'm going with this, but basically, whenever I feel like I have to do mundane stuff, I just wish that I didn't have to do any of that. And I think part
True.
of that might be so. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not quite sure where you're going with it either, but I think it's going somewhere. And what I'm hearing from you is like that's the struggle, right? So I think like that seems really like you have to navigate and find some way to answer the question of how to do the mundane stuff in life and what's the point of life if it isn't hedonistic pleasure. Because having
Mm-hmm.
worked with people who engage in hedonistic pleasure, like usually like it sort of feels fun, but it's not fulfilling. Like they don't, you know, they don't they don't wind up looking for answers elsewhere. Like that's what tells you it's not really the real answer. And so I think it sounds like you've got some things stacked against you in terms of being born with a, a brain that has Asperger's, but at the same time you also sound like highly intelligent and very contemplative. And so it sounds like you have to work with your emotions some, but I think that you have within you the capabilities to come to a very satisfying answer to all of these issues.
I would say so too. I think my main issue is that in many ways I still feel 15 emotionally because that's when I started using drugs. I'm 23 now, so I've been using for about 9 years, and I've used a lot of stuff. The chemicals don't matter. The specific chemicals don't matter, but the what matters is the consistency of that is what I was using to fulfill dopamine and serotonin and all that for so long that yeah, I guess I don't
So
really know how to deal with like my emotions. I feel like a
yeah,
child.
so I know this sounds weird, but you probably are developmentally 15 in some ways.
Right.
Right? So this is kind of weird, but if you look at the field of developmental psychology, we each have like particular developmental milestones that like until you beat, level 2, you don't get to go to level 3. And what I'm hearing from you is that you've advanced in some dimensions of your life, like your intellectual capability, your ability to gain information. You sounds like you're well read and things like that. So like you've studied a lot of things, which is awesome. But then there were some skills on your character sheet that you haven't leveled up, like emotional stuff. So I think I know this sounds weird, but then like you have to first acknowledge that you probably are closer to a 15-year-old from an emotional standpoint. If that's what your instinct is, and you started using substances to avoid emotional sitting with emotions and emotional growth, you basically like didn't get any emotional XP if you were using drugs when you were 15. And so I think
True.
it's actually like a pretty like it's a pretty insightful analysis on your part. And so I'd say like that's where you have to go back and do it. Um, and so there's like this is where I kind of think a little bit about um something called like the Erickson stages. So there's a psychologist called Eric Erickson who is saying that a lot of psychological problems are rooted in this developmental track, where you basically, as a human being, you have some challenges. Like adolescents, for example, are trying to figure out who they are. So like that challenge is identity versus role confusion. And then like later on, it's about like generation versus stagnation. Like, are you growing as a human being, or are you kind of getting stuck? And so there are these different things. And so I think if you're sort of developmentally 15 from an emotional standpoint, then like that's the work that you need to do.
You know, I've been experiencing that recently. Actually, I had 6 months of clean time recently, the longest time I'd ever been clean, and unfortunately, I've relapsed now because I was going down the whole suicidal thoughts path, and I thought
Sure.
nothing mattered. Now you're kind of, I'm kind of starting to think differently about that. So I'm like, damn, I'm gonna have to get clean again. But in that 6 months
Yeah.
of clean time that I had, I started to realize like I had to sit with my emotions when I would feel anxiety or anger. I realized my solution was to just stop whatever I was doing and actually focus on the sensation of whatever I was feeling. Like if it was anxiety, I have sweaty palms, heart beating fast, all that stuff. So I would actually focus on the physiological responses that my body was giving me to the emotions. And then I started to realize like the emotion itself, or this physiological response that my body is having, can't actually hurt me, and it can't actually harm me. So I started to make a little progress with that. Same thing with anger,
Bryce,
depression. But
dude, this
yes.
is fantastic, man. So like here, I'm hearing so many things that make me optimistic for you. So the first is that you were sober for 6 months, and if you did it for 6 months, you can do it again. Right? You can do it. And I also like this is the kind of thinking that I think leads to success, which is like, oh crap, I have to get sober again. And it's sort of that realization that leads to sobriety. Like it's not can I get sober, or I can't get sober, or I want to get sober. It's oh crap, I have to get sober, which is like the best attitude that leads to sobriety in my experience. Oh crap. It's like, because that's motivation. I know it sounds weird, but it's like, oh crap, I have to clean my room. Not, I need to clean my room. I have to clean my room. Oh crap. It's realizing the work that you're going to have to put in. The second thing is that I'm going to share this with you because you're into the Eastern philosophy. So in the same way, I think you're actually like really far along this road, and I want you to take what you've learned and just take it one step forward, which is you say, oh, this physiology can't actually affect me. And the next step that you need to take is that your physiology is producing these sensations for you. Your mind is producing those emotions for you, and those two don't need to affect you.
I would really like to figure out the best way to really come to terms with that, because I'm in like baby stages with that stuff.
Yep.
I believe I expressed it very well, but yeah, I'd like to know how to do
Yeah,
that
so
better.
and I'm telling you, like, you just continue working on the body and then try to put your toe in the water when it comes to the mind. And recognize that this anxiety is not going to be permanent, right? Like anxiety or anger are temporary fluctuations of the mind, just like sweaty palms are temporary fluctuations of the body. And so like as you get more grounded in your body, you will naturally level up, and your ability to like your body is like a level 10 mob and your mind is like a level 20 mob. So you grind on your body for a while and then you'll be able to handle the mind. You'll wake up one day and you'll be able to do it. It's bizarre.
Yeah, no, it's really fascinating about how, I try to think in the future like, oh, it doesn't matter, because like right before I came on the call, I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna talk to him and stuff. And then as soon as it actually started, now like my voice is shaking and like everything's crazy, and I can't think like when I'm actually in it, I can't think in the future and be like, oh, this isn't gonna matter in a little bit. It's like because now the feelings are actually gripping me, so it's very weird uh, weird sensation.
I couldn't tell.
No, I could tell my voice is shaking and stuff, but I know how I sound all the time, so it's different.
To me, I'm curious what chat thinks, but I think you come across as like confident, knowledgeable, and curious.
I've been enjoying chat. They're really supportive of me. I've been appreciating them. I almost cried in the middle of it because they were so nice. They were throwing hearts and stuff.
Yeah, it's weird, man. Chat is a powerful beast, not to be trifled with.
Very cool.
All right,
Um,
Bryce.
Yeah, thank you.
Good luck to you, man.
I appreciate you.
We appreciate you too.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, hi.
Hey.
So first, I want to thank you for doing this. You and your whole team.
You're very welcome.
And
Thank
now
you for
I'm just
coming.
gonna thank you, and then I'll just set the scene. I guess you can call me Puns, by the way.
Puns?
Puns, yeah, Puns Blazing. So Puns for
Puns.
short.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Puns. Got it.
So, how
That's great.
does
Puns
one?
blazing is a pun in and of itself.
Thank you. How does one deal with like short fuse, and not anger issues, just initial like outraged visceral responses or like feelings? Um, for example, whenever someone says or does something, and even if I don't say anything, I would have this initial like my heart started beating faster, and I get sweaty palms, and like I feel like I'm holding my breath, um, because it's something that my sister is the same way, and we've talked about it, and like 99% we got it from our parents, but uh, it's just something I've noticed, and I don't know exactly how to like deal with it, because it becomes more apparent for me, because usually I go from like super passive or like calm to like very active, I guess, or engaged with whatever we're doing. And often what like triggers it is not even important topics. It happens even when I'm like gaming, for example, like a friend messes up like a mechanic or something, and I get the feeling of like, oh my god, what are you doing? And then it also manifests whenever I'm like talking and we're like arguing or debating on stuff.
Okay. So are you okay? Hold on. Can I think for a second? Puns.
Of course, yeah. Sorry, I just throw a lot on at you at once.
No, it's fine. It's actually very helpful. I'm just processing. So what I'm hearing is that it's not like something personal. It's just like your mind gets caught up with things like arguments or gaming.
Yeah, or something that like an event that happens.
Can you give me an example?
Um, okay, so maybe someone like breaks something like in the house, or does something like considered stupid, and then or like messes up something obvious, and my initial response is like, oh my god, how could you do that? Even if I don't say anything, that's like my like instinct reaction to it.
Puns, would you say that you're intolerant of the stupidity of others?
Um, I wouldn't say so. I've accepted that most people do stupid stuff, myself included sometimes.
Then why do you get upset when they do stupid stuff?
I don't know. I feel like part of the reason is, uh, when I was growing up, a lot of the times, like my dad, for example, he means like we mean the world to him. He does everything for us, but like often, like even if we do something like somewhat right, he'll be like, okay, you should have also done this though, and stuff like that. Like he wants us to be like the best we can, and I
Do
know it
you,
comes from a place
do
of a
you
good like.
expect do you expect other people to be the best too?
Uh, no, but I have thought about this, and I know I put myself to like impossible standard, and I feel like sometimes that initial reaction is me putting the standards for me on other people, if that makes sense.
Is that what happens?
I'm not 100% sure, but it makes sense when I think about it.
Okay, so Puns, we've got two options here. One is it sounds like you're very pitta. So I would love to just see your face because I'm curious whether you have color in your face, whether you have like medium features.
We can do that if you want.
Yeah, let's. Can you just turn on video real quick? I don't have to stream it. I'm just curious
All
what
right,
you look like.
because my room is very messy.
That's okay. So
Hi. Hold on, my Discord does this sometimes.
I do see a pinkish complexion, chat. So that's
Oh, I'm not sure. Hold on. I think I know how to
Yeah,
fix it.
yep.
If you give me just a second.
so it looks like pitta kapha or kapha pitta. So there are two things here. One is like we normally take like the psychological angle, right? Of like figure out, what like, oh, like you're putting these expectations that your dad put on you on other people, like, oh my God. So we take that angle, which it sounds like you're pretty familiar with. So I would encourage you to explore that. The second thing that you could do is balance your Ayurvedic dosha. So if we think about like you're asking me not how to deal with the impulsive anger, but how to prevent the impulsive anger. Right? How to stop the short fuse in the first place. And so that's where I encourage you to think a little bit about expectation and what you expect from other people, because I would suspect that it is other people's inability to live up to your expectations that leads to the shortness of fuse. So you're just asking a lot of them, right? Like especially if you're playing a game. No?
It's messing up. I'm sorry. Yeah. Here.
Not the end of the world if you can't get it to work, but
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't want to waste your time.
it's okay. I think you're kapha and pitta, I think. So like I noticed that you had like some redness, like especially around your cheeks and stuff. It doesn't look quite like acne. Do you have acne?
No, but my skin gets very dry.
Dry, and does it get red?
Yes.
Okay. And so we can't, I didn't get very good look because it was blurry. But so the other thing that you can do is reduce your pitta. Do you know what that is?
Can you remind me?
Yeah. So in Ayurveda, so in Western medicine, we think like everyone's mind is the same, right? Like we don't sort of say that there are different kinds of minds. So we know that like in physical attributes, like some people have red hair, some people have black hair, some people have brown hair, some people have blonde hair. And in the same way, there are different versions of like mental faculties. So it's not just like IQ, but then like we sort of know that some people are artistic, some people are creative, whatever. Some people are like more mathematical. But actually, Ayurveda says that even like our emotional responses to stress come in 3 buckets. So some people get anxious, some people get depressed, and some people get angry. So anytime we put pressure on your mind, you may be more likely to respond with a short fuse. And so if you want to reduce that intrinsic like approach to anger, what you need to do is reduce your pitta. So pitta is reduced. So it's kind of weird, but Ayurveda sort of says that there are like these 3 elemental qualities that sort of are correlated with certain mental and physical attributes. High pitta, for example, is associated with anger, irritability, ulcers, indigestion, and like hypertension, for example.
Okay.
So if you reduce your pitta and you have any of these problems, all of those problems will get better. And in your case, what I would suggest is that do you like yogurt?
I like everything.
Okay, so I know this is going to sound really weird, and it's not going to make a huge difference, but if you do it for a little while, it'll probably like a couple months. I'd be curious to see whether it helps with your short fuse. But what I would say is take plain yogurt, okay, no like sugar or fruit or anything like that. Take plain yogurt, use like, get like a 8 or 10 ounce glass. You sound like European, so let me just think about, like 300 mLs. So like take like 300 ml glass and put 100 ml of yogurt and 200 ml of water and mix it together into a drink. It'll be kind of like a weird, like sour, cool drink. And I want you to drink that.
We have that drink. I'm from Bulgaria and we have that drink. It's called ayran.
What, does it have sugar or anything?
No, it's just yogurt and water, as you said.
Do you drink that?
I haven't had it probably in like 2 years.
Okay, so but no sugar, okay? So make aryan and drink it like every 5 days a week for like 2 months, and it should help your anger. I know it sounds weird.
I mean, yeah, it's the body, so it makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. And so
I didn't expect this. Yeah.
From a scientific standpoint, so like, the things that we put into our gut are let me just I'll find Okay, so I'm going to share a paper on stream for a second, and then I'll share it with you too. Are you watching stream?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so I'll just share it on stream. Okay. So like this is just a really interesting paper that shows that you know, the bacteria in your gut. Oh, look, this is in Zagreb, sort of in your neighborhood. But so role of gut microbiota in the interaction between immunity and psychiatry. So like this is just a paper that talks about like we showed the links between your gut microbiome and your brain gut axis regulation, behavioral variations, and neuropsychiatric disorders. So what that means, let me try to find one because I think there's actually something about anger here. No, this is the one that has anger. But there's actually a paper, I can't find it right now, that talks about people with autism who have very angry like outbreaks and like throw things and temper tantrums and stuff. And that actually adjusting their gut microbiome actually reduces the number of temper tantrums that people with autism will throw. And so I'm not quite sure if this is how it works, but thousands of years ago, Ayurvedic physicians basically said people who have short fuses should drink Aryan like every day. And they noticed that people who drink Aryan have fewer short fuses or have a longer fuse. And now we have some evidence that at least there's a connection between, because if you think about Aryan in yogurt, like what's in there, there's going to be lactobacillus and bacteria in there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you don't want to drink it like bottled or pasteurized or whatever, because that'll kill off all the bacteria. But something about that may actually adjust the way that your gut bacteria is, which in turn will affect something called dysbiosis, which is like inflammation in your gut, which actually has mental effects.
Okay. So
So-
are there any foods or drinks I should avoid?
Yeah, so you want to avoid spicy foods. You want to try
Oh.
to eat raw foods. And you want foods that are cool if possible. So salad is very good for you.
Okay, you just killed me because I love spicy food.
Yep. So this is the problem with pittas, is that oftentimes the foods that you like are the ones that are worse for you. And
Okay.
and so what I want you to notice though is as you start to eat cooler foods, there's two kinds of love, okay? There's going to be something that feels really aligned with you, and there's something that feels very balancing to you. Like me as a Vata, I love doing 1,000 things in one day, but I also find that like if I do 1,000 things in one day, it's sort of like it feels really good in the moment, but it doesn't feel balancing. I actually feel really good when I like start my day off grounded. It's kind of different. There's a different kind of feels good. One is like a balancing feels good, and one is like an exciting feels good. It's like, let's go, buddy. But then it's sort of like, no, that's actually not good for me. And as you start to eat colder foods, you'll see, how you start to feel different. And it'll start to feel like kind of cooling, refreshing, sort of countering the way that you feel.
So going for like fruit salads, as you said, just raw foods would help
Yeah.
me in the long. Okay.
Yep. And try not to mix fruit and vegetables in one sitting. Okay.
Any specific reason or?
Yep, because their digestive profiles are different. And so for optimal digestion, you want to eat them separately.
What would you say is like a good space between those? Like time.
Hour and a half, 90 minutes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay?
Wait, can I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
Wait, so are kale smoothies bad then? For digestion?
So when we say bad, right, let's remember that there's like hierarchies of health. So like if your option is between a hamburger and a kale smoothie, go kale smoothie. But if you really want to optimize your digestion, you actually should not mix different kinds of macronutrients. And there's a really simple logical reason for this. You guys ready for it? Yay? Nay? Okay. Who knows what a lipase is? Does anybody know what a lipase is? I'm asking chat. Anybody know? If you guys know, French, you know? Yeah, it's an enzyme.
Yeah.
So it's an enzyme that breaks down fat. So then there's also something called an amylase, which is an enzyme that breaks down carbohydrates. And then there's something called a protease, which is an enzyme that breaks down protein. Now, when I drink, let's say I just eat. So what happens is when I put food in my mouth, the tongue and neurons, receptors in my mouth detect what I'm eating. And what they do is they tell my digestive enzymes, they secrete the appropriate digestive enzymes from the stomach and gallbladder and intestines. So when I eat like a cake, for example, that's carbohydrate and carbohydrate and fat, it sends signals to my gut and it says, hey, we need lipase and we need amylase. Now, the tricky thing is that if I just eat one macronutrient, if I eat just protein, for example, then like I tell my gut to secrete protease. And then I have 100 units of protein that I swallow, and I have 100 units of protease, so my digestion is 100%. Because in my stomach, there's like protease that's floating around with the protein, and so the digestion works out great. The problem is that if I eat, for example, different kinds of things together, if I eat partially carbohydrate, partially protein, and partially fat, then I've got 3 different kinds of macronutrients floating around in my stomach and 3 different kinds of enzymes floating around in my stomach. And so the chance that a carbohydrate molecule hits an amylase is only 30%. So that what that means is that there's like improper digestion. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the problem with smoothies, if you talk to Ayurvedic or naturopathic physicians, they'll say that smoothies are not good for you. I mean, it's not that they're not good for you. Like servings of fruits and vegetables are still really healthy for you. But as you, like if we think about, what's like, is a burger healthy? Well, like it depends on what you're comparing it to, right? So like things are not healthy in isolation. There's like a hierarchy of health. And if your problem is that you eat very unhealthy throughout the entire day, I'd say by all means have a kale smoothie and get like 2 servings of fruits and vegetables and fiber and all that good stuff. But if you want to go to the next level, right? So this is where like the yogis who meditated and tried to gain enlightenment realize that they're like very, very fine tuning to like really optimize your DPS. The higher you want to get on the DPS meters, the more fine tuned you want to be. And so eventually like a kale smoothie is really good if you're like, in the bottom 80% of health. But if you're in that top 20% and you want to optimize your digestion, you should split up some of those macronutrients into separate meals. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I shouldn't have a problem because I would rather eat like 2 oranges than have like orange juice.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
And also that psychological stuff is totally legit too. I mean, by all means, think about, whether you get pissed at people because your dad got pissed at you. Like you should do that psychological work. Like, how did it feel when, you were never good enough for him?
It wasn't even like that. It's more like just being very critical.
Sure. Yeah. So I think look into that stuff too, but it's a good Ayurvedic kind of perspective.
Okay. Oh, that thing completely new element in my equation.
Yeah, good. So that's going to be the lowest hanging fruit, no pun intended.
Oh, please intend. Yeah.
Right? So it's the areas that we haven't considered that we can oftentimes get the most benefit from.
Okay. I will do that then. I will buy it tomorrow.
Okay. Make sure
Great.
It's not... So, puns, if it's pasteurized, then you need to get yogurt that has active cultures and make it yourself.
Okay. It's going to be a bit difficult because I live abroad right now for my studies. So they don't have like the best
Just get yogurt.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, do the best that you can.
I will. Thank you so much.
Good luck, buddy.
Thank you. Have a good day. Yeah.
You too.
It's daytime for you. Bye-bye.
We got raided, but I think they left.
Whoops.
I can't tell. Hello.
Okay, so if people are still here from the raid, apologies if you guys came into something that was kind of confusing. I can imagine that being raided when we're talking about Ayurvedic stuff, if people haven't had a background to it, is going to be really confusing, and you're going to be like, what is this guy talking about? My apologies. So welcome to the Healthy Gamer channel. I'm Alok Kanoja. I'm a psychiatrist. We talk about all things mental health here. Just a reminder that this isn't like medical advice. So if you guys have a real medical question, go see a licensed professional. But what we try to do is try to explore, and better understand how our mind works. And if we understand how our mind works, then we can start to like have it do the things that we want it to instead of the things that it does that, make our life difficult. And so our whole goal here at Healthy Gamer is to help you become healthier and continue playing video games if that's what you do. And so we try to help people understand themselves so that they can live their life the way that they want to, instead of the way that their mind makes them. Cool. Who's next?
Cool. Let me drag him up. Hello.
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 Hey, my question's about selflessness and selfishness.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been trying to become more aware of like the things I do, and one realization that I've come to is that I rarely do things for other people. In the sense, at times when there's nothing in it for me. And just something that I've realized is that no action that I take is completely selfless. Um, Coming back to your earlier talk about developing conscientiousness through being selfless,
Mhm.
thinking about how I can go about doing that better if I have trouble being completely selfless in the first place.
Okay. So just to put some context around it, great question, by the way. So just to put some context around this. So we talked about developing conscientiousness. So in Western psychology, there's one very evidence-based model of personality assessment, which is called the 5-factor model. So what this sort of does is breaks down psychology into 5 dimensions that are very like measurable. And one of the dimensions is something called conscientiousness. And conscientiousness is kind of like your ability to do hard work. So if you look at medical doctors, for example, or medical students, not doctors, what you find is that they're very conscientious and they're very neurotic. So like people who are have a high tendency of worry and are hardworking are like the people who wind up as medical students. And so the reason is because they worry, like on Friday night when everyone else is partying, like they're afraid that they're not going to get an A. So like that worry plus the hard work is what drives them to excel at studies. So we have a talk on our YouTube video, on our YouTube channel, I think, at this point, about how to develop conscientiousness. Because a lot of people in our community are like, I'm lazy and undisciplined. And people who have high conscientiousness are like naturally like disciplined. And so people are like, how do I become naturally disciplined? And one way is to develop conscientiousness. So one of the strategies to develop conscientiousness is if we think about what laziness is, it is giving in to your own desires, right? So if we think about a lazy person, they're like, I could do the dishes today, but I don't want to. So I'm going to give in to my impulses and not do the dishes. Whereas someone who is disciplined will not give in to their impulses and do the dishes anyway. And so then the question becomes, how do you gain the ability to resist your own impulses? And the short answer is altruism is like a really, really good way to develop conscientiousness. And what I mean by that is that oftentimes even lazy people can set aside their own desires for the sake of another person. And the key thing there is that it's that doing something for someone else gets you over the hump of resisting your own impulse. But the cool thing there is that you're still getting over the hump of resisting the impulse. So as you do things for other people, it kind of gets more explained in more detail in the YouTube video, but this is just a quick summary. You're still in that moment. It's like, oh, I want to play video games, but my friend has a flat tire. So in that moment, you're still resisting the impulse to play video games to go help another human being. And so the muscle group that you want to work out, it's almost like doing a bench press or a bicep curl, right? Is like the ability to resist your own impulses. And if you start doing things for other people, you're kind of like working out that muscle group over and over and over again. And the result is that generally speaking, people who live like an altruistic life for some period of time tend to get better at resisting their own impulses. And there's science behind that and all that kind of stuff. That's all in the YouTube video. So that's a quick background for people. Now on to your question. You want to say something? Tech
No,
Teller?
that's a good summary. Yeah.
So Tech Teller's question is like, so are you? I'm still confused about what your question is. Is your question how do I develop conscientiousness, or is your question I'm truly a selfish human being? I don't know. I'm never really selfless.
No, my question is more generally about selflessness, and there's a couple other points in there, but that's where I want to start. Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
So
to clarify it better, just if I find it hard to be selfless, how do I still develop conscientiousness using that technique?
okay. So the first thing is that remember the goal of the technique is not to be selfless. The goal of the technique is to practice resisting your impulses. So as long as you're doing things for other people, even if it's for a selfish reason, as long as you are resisting your impulse to like play video games or like do something else, like even if there's a benefit for you, you're still kind of like learning to resist an intrinsic impulse. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I think oddly enough, it sort of doesn't matter. But then I'm sort of detecting a kind of different question, which is like you're sort of perplexed by the fact that you're selfish. And then you're trying to figure out like, what do I do about that? That's really what I'm hearing is your question.
Yes. I'm not so perplexed by the fact that I'm selfish. I think I'm selfish at certain times and selfless at other times. It's more about like I'm never truly selfless, but sometimes I'm truly selfish. So that sort
Sure.
of dichotomy is really confusing to me. And
Yeah.
I'm also wondering if there's any benefit to being completely selfless.
Okay, so let's start with this. I think so. This is where like it's okay for you to be selfish because of where you are in life. So I want everyone to kind of understand this. Like, so it's my job to be selfless now because I spent a lot of time. So earlier today, we were talking about how I spent 15 years studying lots of stuff. I wasn't studying that stuff to help the world. I was studying that stuff to help myself. Right? Like I was lost and confused and didn't know like how to like make my life into what I wanted it to be. So I looked long and hard and studied neuroscience at an ashrams and, you know, weird like esoteric stuff like Tantra. And I studied all these things not to make the world a better place. I did it because I was like, my life is not going in a direction that I want it to go. And I'm deeply, deeply unhappy about the state of my life. I'm looking for answers, not for other people, but for myself. And so this is where I think for a lot of people in our community, because I'm older than most of the people in our community, I think it's fine for you to be selfish. Like put yourself first by all means, right? You have to put on your own oxygen mask before you help other people. And so, you know, knowing you a little bit, I think it's totally fine for you to be predominantly selfish. And then like when you're ready, selflessness will arise automatically. Because one day, once you have your own stuff figured out and you're established in yourself, you no longer need to be selfish. Because everything you've achieved is like basically what you want to. And then you're going to have some mana left over and you can start healing other people. But like that doesn't happen. Like by all means, prioritize yourself. I don't think you need to worry about being selfless right now. Just like focus on your own growth by all means and be like, I'm not saying be mean. But like, you know, if you do things primarily for your benefit to grow yourself and don't give things to other people, that's totally fine. The day will come when you are ready to give things to other people where people will show up and that's when you need to give.
Okay, that makes sense in terms of like where people are in their life. The other aspect of selflessness is that you sometimes say that it's like necessary or required to live a fulfilling life. Is that like
Selflessness is required
after yeah, like, it's like useful to live a fulfilling life, like doing things for other people,
Okay.
living for other people. Is that like is that not like did I misunderstand that?
I may have misexplained it, but keep going.
Oh, okay. So that's the assumption that I'm building off, and so actually I forgot my question from that point. Basically, that was I mean, if that's true, then,
let
yeah.
me be a little bit clear, okay? There's a nuance here. So I think living a fulfilling life is doing your dharma. But your dharma doesn't necessarily have to be to other people. In fact, right now, your dharma is probably to yourself first.
Hmm.
So I don't think that you actually need to be a selfless human being to live a fulfilling life. I think you just need to do your dharma. And oftentimes, dharma involves a component of selflessness. But like, for example, if I just really, really love quantum physics and all I care about in this world is quantum computing, like, I think it's fine to devote my life to developing quantum computing. And like, I don't care about anyone else. I'm not doing it for anyone else. I'm doing it because I love quantum computing. And I think that's a completely sufficient dharma. Like, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be like the textbook version of a saint to live a good and fulfilling life.
Hmm. Does there not need to be like do you not need to be predominantly selfless or even like
No.
somewhat selfless?
Nope.
No?
Nope. You just need to do your dharma. Dharma or dharma is Dharma and is the Sanskrit word for duty. So you should do your duty. So if you're like, if you don't have kids and like you're self-sufficient and you want to devote yourself to creating art or like writing poetry or writing fiction books or doing whatever, like, I think that's fine as long as you find it fulfilling and like that's what your duty is. But your duty doesn't necessarily have to be to other people.
Okay. That makes sense. Maybe from a more, I guess, so one part of my question was about conscientiousness, one was about living a fulfilling life. The other is more from a spiritual perspective in terms of selflessness.
Okay.
Is it required there? Like, do you need to be selfless to be like for
No.
spiritual growth in any way?
Nope, you need to be selfish for spiritual growth.
Wait, really?
Yes.
What does that mean? I'm not sure.
So the search for spirituality is like a purely selfish pursuit.
But a big part of that is to be selfless, right? That's one of the, wait, is it? The 10
Nope.
yama and niyamas? No?
No. So let's okay. So now this is good, Tech Teller. Let's look at the yamas and niyamas. So for people who don't know, in the yogic tradition, there are 10 sort of like moral principles that you should adopt. Okay, so like let's just look this up on Wikipedia. Okay, so ahimsa is non-violence. Is that selfish or selfless?
Depends, I think.
Okay, so it's not selfless, right? It's just satya, truthfulness. Is that selfish or selfless?
Again, I guess depends, really.
Exactly. Asteya or non-stealing. Selfish or selfless?
Okay, I see the theme here. Yeah. It still depends, like, on the situation.
Absolutely. So this is where Tech Teller, like, I know you're far in this stuff. So so all of these questions are rooted in your ignorance of Advait.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense to you?
Not
You know
really.
what Advaita means? So Advaita
Like
is
non-duality?
non-dualism. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're so if I truthfulness has nothing to do with whether it's selfish or selflessness. Like the spiritual pursuit is like, it's all about you, right? Like you're not trying to become enlightened for my benefit. Are you? Are you doing it for chat? So Advaita,
No.
for people who don't know, sorry, this is a slightly more philosophical or advanced discussion, but Advaita means non-dualism. And so what the yogis believed is that like our mind likes to split things into two things, like good or bad. And so we'll just use a classic example of failure, okay? So like, is failure good or bad? What do you think, Tech Teller?
It can be good and, well, it's both.
Okay. So like, as we look at different things, what the yogis realized is that it is our mind that separates things into good or bad. That good or bad are not intrinsic qualities of reality. And like if you go outside and you look at a tree, is that tree a good tree or a bad tree? And it's sort of like it's just a tree. Right? It so happens that it fell on my car, therefore I'm calling it a bad tree. But if it had fell on my neighbor's car, who I don't like, I would call it a good tree. And so like a tree is a tree. And so in that way, you're talking about selfishness or selflessness. But if you really look at the yamas or niyamas, if you look at like truthfulness isn't selfish or selfless. Like there's a component of that you're doing for your own sake, absolutely. There's a component that you're doing for other people's sake. And what the yogis basically figured out is that truthfulness helps you and it helps other people. It helps everyone involved. And that's why you should strive for it. And so this dichotomy between like, should I be selfish or should I be selfless? Like, I don't know how to say this, but you know, spiritual pursuits, like if you're trying to become a better human being, like that's sort of like for you, right? Like when you have yogis that are sitting in like caves in the Himalayas and meditating for 18 hours a day, and day after day, year after year, they're just hanging out in these caves in this like, you know, hibernation state for decades. Like they're not helping anyone. Maybe they are. You know, there are some people who claim that they're putting positive energies out into the universe to protect the humans. But I don't, you know, I don't know how to verify that. They just seem to be chilling to me.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I hadn't considered it from a perspective of it's neither like good or bad. So at the end of the day, it depends on the situation, I guess.
No, it doesn't depend on the situation. It's neither good nor bad. See, the situation is how our mind attributes something to it. But that's like ours, right? Because like, okay, so the tree fell on my neighbor's car. I don't like my neighbor. We're in a feud. And like, so the neighbor thinks it's a bad tree and I think it's a good tree. If it fell on my car, the neighbor thinks it's a good tree and I think it's a bad tree. Is it a good tree or a bad tree?
It's a tree. It's just a tree.
The rest of it is what our mind. So I want, like, I know we've lost some people through some of the terminology, for which I apologize, but I want you guys to really like hammer this in and really think about this, because I hope you can at least, hopefully I've given enough context. Is that our minds are the things that apply good or bad to other things in the outside world. We're like, oh my God, I suck at life. Like that's your mind telling you suck at life. And this is the whole point about like advertising the 2.5 GPA to Harvard Medical School. It's not like, I'm not saying that I'm great. What I'm saying is that like the things that I thought were terrible and that I wished had never happened are the things that I'm incredibly grateful for today. Right? That failing out of college is like absolutely a bad thing. And I'm absolutely thrilled that it happened. Right? And so someone's saying in chat, it's personal interpretation. That's the whole point, is that your mind interprets, but the interpretation of your mind is not truth. Like, you know, I interpret that, you know, this person is being mean to me because they didn't hold the door open. Like, that's just a stupid interpretation from my mind. It's like that. It's just my mind telling me, but your mind doesn't shape reality. Like, just because I'm sad because unicorns can't be gay, like that's not a real thing. It's just something that my mind comes up with. And sure, I can be sad about it, but it's not, has no bearing on reality. Most of what our mind does is like a crappy way to deal with truth. That's what our mind is.
Yep. Okay, that makes
right.
a lot
And
of sense.
now people in chat are saying that unicorns can be gay. And like now, like if we go back to Puns, if Puns was here, he'd start arguing and he'd get pissed off, and then we'd like have a fight about whether unicorns can be gay or not. And then our friendship would be shattered. And like what, like it's all dumb. Like think about most people arguing on the internet. Like what are they arguing about? Like, how are they getting bent out of shape? It's because their mind is telling them, oh, this person is disrespecting me. I need to show, like, what is your mind doing? It's just like, interpretation in and of itself is like, is foolish.
Yep.
Sorry, someone walked away from, so someone was saying, I walked away from stream, what happened?
Unicorns happened. Okay. Can I be selfish for 1 minute here and ask about a meditation question?
Sure.
So you do not recommend people to do alternate nostril breathing if they have a deviated septum?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is there a good replacement for that?
Yeah, so if you really want a replacement for that, you can do alternate nostril breathing by putting your attention on each nostril during inhalation and exhalation. So you don't physically have to block it, but you just focus on the inhalation from your right nostril, and then focus on the exhalation through your left nostril, and then focus on the inhalation through your left nostril, and focus on the exhalation through your right nostril.
Okay. Yep, that makes sense.
Cool.
Yeah, that helps. Thanks so
Are we
much.
doing one more? Are we doing Reddit, French?
I asked them about. I think we should just transition to Reddit. I let them know.
Okay, cool. So what do I go to our subreddit?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. People, do you have a Reddit account? Do you know that you can post things on our subreddit?
So chattars, so I go to top for the week.
Yeah.
Is there anything I need to be worried about leaking?
Don't. Let me check actually. Like
I don't think
on
so,
the
right?
Reddit, the Reddit is like public, so I mean I don't.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just
There's
close
no
all my.
NSFW.
Okay. So chat. So here's the other thing that we're trying to do. So like at Healthy Gamer, there's a beautiful community that we built. And the community has lots of beautiful experiences and lots of beautiful questions. Everything is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And so we're trying to keep up with like all of the questions and things like that. So we're like trying to like get, to people, get to their questions, try to answer questions, try to do a better job at like, supporting you guys. So that's why we've been doing call-ins the past couple of weeks. So today we're going to try something else, which is that a lot of people post on our Reddit. So we're going to actually go through some of those and kind of like talk about them or respond to them or think about them a little bit. And then we'll sort of see how that goes and see if people kind of like it. So let's do teaching.
Can I christen the Redditing with a cat?
Yes. What does that mean?
Look.
Do you want me to show you on stream?
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Let me just make sure I'm not going to leak anything.
Ah!
Okay. There.
Oh.
And what's your cat's name?
He has two names. One is Swami. The second one is Lord Mega Meow.
Lord Mega Meow.
Okay.
It looks like Lord Mega Meow doesn't like the camera.
No.
Okay. So let's take a look at our Reddits. So what should I sorted by top this week, right?
Yes.
Look, I upvoted this. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I browse our Reddit a fair amount. So I just start at the top?
Oh, like you've already seen these, so I guess for next time.
Don't look at the Reddit?
Yeah, I mean, preferably. Yeah.
But I love our Reddit.
Oh, okay. I mean, just make sure you collect your thoughts,
Should I look at this or no?
Yeah.
My immediate thought after seeing this on Twitter: the final boss depression has to face. Okay.
Do you get it?
Yeah, I'm the final boss that depression has to face, and I'm T-posing.
So we posted like you T-posing on Twitter?
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm T-posing. I've learned what a T-pose is. I use T-posing to establish dominance on all manner of things. Like my children, plants, etc. Okay. Oh yeah, this was great. This one? Okay, I'm gonna fight this depression. And then, damn, my depression has deep roots in childhood trauma and lack of emotional connection to loved ones. It's brilliant.
Kinda. Yeah.
It's a good T-posing on it. Oh yeah, and then there's lots of. Oh god, I haven't actually. Cry. Just sit. Oh wait, this is I. Or something.
Yeah, I'm gonna get one. Sorry.
This is bad because I think I do T-pose. This is your fault, chat. Okay. All right. Okay. Joshua Fluke says he would be happy to talk to Dr. K. I look at this.
Yeah, it's kind of a long video.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Acknowledged.
Gargle on D's not. I just assume this is a clip of chat owning me.
Yeah, you already lived through this.
I look so similar.
No, don't. Oh my god. Why would you?
I'm just reading chat, dude. Like I said, I'm just reading chat.
God.
What?
Like gargle on like these nuts. I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. But I think I actually rated Gargalon, right? I just thought I actually rated Gargalon. I thought it was like Okay. All right. So Dr. K helped me help myself. Okay. To all you healthy gamers, I guess you guys can't read this, huh? It's too.
Might have to zoom in a little bit.
Okay. Gentle reminder that it's possible and okay to be happy with yourself. With 16 years of work on loving and accepting myself, therapist, medical advice, antidepressants, Buddhism, and meditation, and Dr. K's amazing insight to top it off, I have fully processed all of my trauma. If anyone has asked me if there was anything wrong with my childhood last year, I would have said no. But I had accepted situations and modes of thought to come to that conclusion that were extremely toxic. I had unknowingly turned myself into the apex of wrongness. It turns out that when you love and accept yourself for who you truly are, you discover more and more about yourself every moment. Keep up the good work, gamers, and thank you for your insight, Dr. K. Cool. Strong work, LaForge. Wait, should we be because people are, I mean, I guess it's all public, right?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Is Dr. K ever going to do a Reddit recap? Is that why we're doing this?
No, you can go to the next post.
Oh, okay.
Look, Healthy Gamers hiring.
Should I look at a black one?
Wait, what's a black one?
This one over here that hasn't been read.
There's yeah, do that one.
Okay. Let's take a look. Hi, everyone. The last couple of months have been stressful to say the least. I live in Germany and currently going to school there. Our final exams are coming up in a month. Basically, the last exams before you get out of school, and I have had motivational problems for what seems like forever now. Unfortunately, it has become worse over time due to pressure and expectations, not just expectations that my parents have for me, but expectations that I have set for myself. So basically, my dream is to become a doctor one day, which probably, like in the US, requires a very high score. I don't know how it's done in the US, but in Germany, this final score is comprised of the last 4 semesters of school. Though my grades are bad, they are not way below required score that I need for studying medicine. My question is, how do I motivate myself to do any schoolwork when I know that the only thing that I want to study seems to be very far away from my reach? Of course, there are still other ways to study medicine. I feel like I'm some sort of paradox if anyone understands what I mean. I know that the only thing that I really want to do is study medicine, but I just can't get myself to study for it. Just as a side note, I wouldn't say that I lack motivation in general. I'm fortunate enough to be able to motivate myself to do other things, such as working out. Thanks for help in advance. It's a great question. So I think the problem here is that there's so much emphasis on studying for medical school, right? So I know I'm going to just try to figure out how to say this in a way that makes sense. But oftentimes when you're studying for a particular goal, and when that goal may be out of reach, then you're not going to have motivation to study, right? And let's just think about this for a second, because it's really weird. Because if the reason that I'm studying is to become a doctor, and like this person says, though my grades are not bad, they are way below the required score that I need to study medicine. And so if your motivation is driven by a particular result, and that result seems out of reach, your motivation is going to wither with it, right? It's going to like melt away because like there's a part of your brain that's telling you, hey, this is not a likely outcome, so it's not worth your time to invest in. You can want it as much as you want to, but motivation and desire are separate things. And what we oftentimes think is that motivation and desire are the same thing. I want something, therefore I should be motivated towards it. But motivation is actually done by a different calculation in your brain that has to do with the likelihood of reward, right? If we like think about those experiments with rats and cocaine, what happens is like the likelihood of the reward is what motivates the rat to the action. So they did these studies where like a rat would press a button, and if it pressed a button, it would get some cocaine. And then what they did is they like made it random. Like every 4 presses, the rat would get a hit of cocaine, or like it would be 25% of the time. And what they discovered is that motivation comes from like this random reinforcement schedule. But at the end of the day, my point here is that motivation doesn't come from desire. It actually comes from an estimation of reward. So as long as, and now what I'm hearing from this person, I mean, it really like seems as simple to me as like night and day. That as this person starts to feel like they may not make it towards medicine, as the likelihood of reward decreases, their motivation is going to dwindle. Does that make sense? And so, you should just use cocaine while studying. No. So this is where, oddly enough, what this person really needs to do is recalibrate away from the goal. And that's why it feels like kind of a paradox, because the more he wants it, so here's the paradox in his mind, okay? I want you guys to imagine this for a second. So medicine is like pulling out of reach. Like here's where he is, and medicine is moving further and further away, right? So like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to reach it. I'm trying to catch up, but it's getting further and further away. Oh no, oh noes, oh noes, it's slipping away from me. And this is the paradox in his mind, I would guess, or assuming it's a him. The paradox in this person's mind is that it's slipping away from me, but if I work extra hard right now, I can catch up. I can still catch up. I can still catch up. I can still catch up. You know, when your chips are down is when you need the most motivation. That's when you need to double down and you can make it. And so when he needs his motivation the most, it starts to dwindle away, and that's the paradox. That's the paradox, right? When you guys, you know you can still do it. I can still do it. I can still do it. I just need to today. I can catch up. I know I can. I just need to start today. And it's slipping away from me. And the more it's slipping away from you, you're confused because you know you can get it if you push yourself. If I try really hard, I can do it. And yet your motivation is nowhere to be found. It abandons you on the field of battle. The more you need it, the less it's there to be found. And that's the paradox. So how do you overcome this? Next question, right? So this is where you have to let go of the result. So why do you study? And this is a story I've told a couple of times, but it's one I'll tell again. Just like I have this conversation with like 30% of the medical students that I teach. And we're like sitting there and they're disappointed because I'm supposed to be a nice guy, right? So I'm like, people will come to me and they'll be like, Dr. K, my feelings are hurt. I wanted to get honors on this exam and I got a high pass. So it means they got a B instead of an A. They're like, I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know why I study if I only get a B. And it's understandable. Like they're devastated because, they're kids that are used to getting A's. And so at some point I sit down and I talk to these medical students and I ask them, why are you in medical school? Do you know why people are in medical school? Anyone know? What's the purpose of medical school? Nope, it's not money. It's not prestige. Nope. Validation, nope. Actually, I asked you guys are answering the right, those are all answers. Why you're in medical school, those are all good answers for why you're in medical school. Let me rephrase my question. I asked the wrong question. What is medical school for? It's actually really good, chat. You guys are right. That's why a lot of people are in med school. That's the problem. But what is it for? Right? Like helping people. And so this is what I have to tell them. I have to be like, I don't think you understand, man. Like, I'm telling you, I've told this story like a couple times now, but I guess I'm going to tell it again. So one day, this is what I tell them. One day, you're going to be on an airplane. There's going to be an announcement overhead. And the announcement is going to be, is there a doctor on the plane? And then in that moment, honestly, the scariest moment of my entire life was when that happened to me. They're like, is there a doctor on the plane? Because then it's like, oh, crap. You know, you don't have like, there's no hospital. There's no one else to call. There's no nursing staff. It's just you. Right? It's just you. And then like in that moment, like the air, like, you know, the air host or flight attendant or whatever is going to take you to the back of the plane where you're going to see a pregnant woman who's complaining of stomach pain. And then like in your mind, and then what's going to happen is they're going to hand you a phone. This is how it happens. They hand you a phone and the pilot's on the other end. And the pilot asks this question, do I divert? Do we need to divert? And then I'm like, what does divert mean? And he's like, do I need to land the plane right now? And then I look up and I see like all these like, you know, like 100 people on this plane. It's like, okay, am I going to ruin these people's day? Like, does this plane need to be landed? Because there's this pregnant lady there. The pregnant lady has stomach pain. So in my mind, it's like, is she just nauseous because she's pregnant? Unlikely, because that tends to happen in the first trimester. Is she having a placental abruption? So like, is this stomach pain because something is horribly wrong with the pregnancy and she needs immediate medical attention? Is this lady's like, she has a child inside her? Is this child on the verge of death? Or did she just like eat the wrong kind of food? Or is it air sickness? Or like, what's going on? That's why you're in medical school. That's why you're studying. I don't care if you get an A or a B. Like, you can get an F. I don't care. I don't think you understand. Like, y'all kids don't understand. You are training to become a doctor. And on that day, when the pilot is asking you, do I divert the plane? You don't get to say, oh, I'm sorry I didn't get honors in that class. I don't know. You don't get to say that. You don't get to say, I'm sorry, I'm a psychiatrist. I only ask about feelings. I don't know what to do. You don't get to say that once you're a doctor. Society has given you a lot of money, has given you a lot of prestige, has given you a lot of power and validation. And the price that you pay for that is the buck stops with you. Right? Buck stops with you. And that's why you should be studying. It's not about getting an A. It's like, because at some point, like, you don't get to pass it on to anyone else. And that's what society rewards you for, through validation, through respect, through monetary gains, is that bearing that responsibility. And in that moment, it's like, do I just land the plane? Or like, you know, because this woman could be devastated depending on the outcome of your decision. And so that's why you should study. And so it's not to become a doctor. It's like in that moment, like, I want you guys to understand this, like for medical students, it's not a goal. It's a disaster scenario that you're prepared for. That's why you should study. And in the same way, for all of y'all that are struggling to find motivation, it's not about like whatever goal you have. Like, oh, I want to be a doctor one day. That's not why you should study. I know it sounds weird, but like, studying is about the acquisition of knowledge and preparing yourself for what comes next. That's why you should wake up and study every day. I know it sounds weird, but there were lots of times where I woke up and I said, oh, I didn't actually say this, but because I didn't know I was going to be a doctor, I was kept on getting rejected. But like, you know, there are times where you say, I'm not going to need to know this. But at this point, like, we run Healthy Gamer. And like, even though I'm a doctor, there are a lot of things that I need to understand that have nothing to do with medicine. Right? Like, so French has been kind enough to teach me about things like marketing analytics and like Twitch numbers and like all this kind of stuff. And I have to pay attention to all that. And I have to understand like financial statements and doing mathematical analysis and statistical analysis. And it's never about, oh, I'm not going to need that, so I'm not going to learn it. Like, you don't know what you're going to need. Like, you can't see the future. You never know what kind of knowledge or information you're going to need. You never know. So when you go to school, I know this sounds really bizarre. It sounds weird. So I want you guys to imagine you're preparing for the rest of your life. And there's one opportunity that you have to go to this place where it is people's jobs to teach you random crap so that you don't have to learn it on your own. Because you never know what you're going to need. And that's why you should study. You should study history. You should study art. You should study math. You should study programming. You should study whatever you can get your hands on. And learn it because you never know like what's going to happen. Did you divert? No, I didn't divert. You guys want to know what happened that day? This is great. So, what happened that day on the plane, turned out there was another doctor who was far more experienced than I. And so he sort of ran the show. Biggest relief of my life. Saved. That day. But I have had multiple medical emergencies since then. I was actually on a boat once where there was an outbreak of something. So everyone started like vomiting, like a smaller boat. There were like 20 people on the boat. Everyone started vomiting and like getting sick to their stomach and stuff. And it was like, what's going on here? Like, do we need to take these people to the, like, so we were on vacation and we were on a boat. And then like, you know, the captain is like, do we cancel our trip? We're supposed to be on a boat for 3 days. So we go back to port and basically cancel the vacation. Turned out that everyone was hungover and a little bit seasick and dehydrated. Right? But it's like either they've got, you know, salmonella, which means that they could be like bleeding out of their anus in a little while, or it's like people had too much rum and spent a little bit too much time in the sun or dehydrated. Which one is it? You got to know. You never know. So multiple medical emergencies since then. Weddings is a common one. There's like so many people there. And then, no, these are different people, not pregnant, but hungover. The pregnant lady was on one plane. This one was dehydration, and the woman was fine. She didn't have a problem. She's okay. We didn't have to divert. It was just air sickness, right? And that's where you like ask lots of questions. You're like, okay, so, you know, is there any discharge? Where is the pain? You feel like throwing up? Okay. So, you know, there are lots of different things. So it's fine. Her pulse was okay. So like if you have a placental abruption, which is when the placenta separates from the uterus and you start bleeding. So the placenta is what carries blood from the mother to the fetus. And so when you have a placental abruption, you literally start bleeding into your body. And so when that happens, like, you know, changes happen to your blood pressure and things like that, capillary refill, all kinds of different stuff. It's all good. But she was fine. Okay. So, all right. We good, French? You want to do one more, or are we wrapping up?
Wait, no, there's like one about group. I don't know if you
Where's
saw
group?
that one on the subreddit.
No, I know, but where is it?
If you have a Reddit account, it's on the top page. Let me find it.
The top page? Just
It's top by week. It was like on your screen. It was like one or two down. It's the one right after motivating yourself to do work.
oh, wait. Is it here?
Yeah, but you sorted by today, I think.
One
So
or two.
It needs to go by week.
Oh, week. Okay.
Yeah. I attended the first group therapy session.
Is this about group coaching?
I don't know.
Because it
Oh,
says not
wait.
therapy coaching, I mean.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. I attended my first group therapy sessions. The first thing, guys, is that there's a difference between this is not group therapy. So group therapy is a clinical intervention designed to treat illness, okay? But I did read this one. And I didn't know if this guy meant group therapy or group coaching. I was tempted to respond, but I was like, I just didn't know. So what the F, am I stupid? It's one thing to see all the other participants talk about their issues, and there are more regular issues that people have. One feel a bit nervous when I talk because I have social anxiety. I have no motivation when doing schoolwork. We've heard that before. I feel lonely because I don't have friends. And then I resent the fact that eventually I'm going to have to open up about my feelings. You know, given the opportunity, I would have become a school shooter and I would have killed my classmates. That's scary. I was so stressful that I would physically abuse my dog. When I raised my hand, he would flinch. And all of these people are probably not going to have the best opinion of me, understandable. But sure, I wanted group therapy because I wanted to test out what it would be like participating in this. Maybe I should not back out, but I wonder what it would be like. I just got the individual coach, which probably not going to be that bad. Well, let's hope so. And I think that is fascinating, if a bit terrifying. Okay, so this is actually like a pretty good post to talk about. So the first thing is that, if you guys do have thoughts about hurting other people, that's definitely something you should really consider talking about, talking to a professional about. And why do I say that? It's not to like try to punish you or say that you're sick or anything like that. It's just like the more severe your symptoms, the more I think you deserve, like the highest quality of like clinical intervention. And that's kind of how I think about it as a, physician. It's like we have an ICU for patients who are in critical care. So that's why it's the intensive care unit. Coaching is for some things and therapy is really for others. It sounds like this person has kind of gotten past that, which is kind of reassuring. But I think this is a very appropriate person for group. And I know that sounds weird. Because here's the first thing, okay? This is what people are saying, but this is what they may be thinking. Okay? Right? So, like, no one is going to show up the first week of group and say, like, I think I could have become a school shooter if things had gone differently. People are going to say things like this. And then, and so this is what I would say to this person. And then I resent the fact that eventually I'm going to have to open up about my feelings. No, you don't. And this is what I think makes this person really appropriate for group. You don't have to do anything there. So what I would say if I was this person, and I think this is what the coaches would do too, is you don't have to talk about your feelings. You don't have to talk about this. This is what you should talk about. You should just go to the group and say, I feel really resentful that I have to talk about certain things here. I would share that feeling and let the group work through that with you. And if you don't feel safe in sharing, don't share. And this is the really amazing thing about group. Okay, so like this person feels like, it sounds to me like this person was in a super dark spot. They feel super ashamed. And all of these people are probably not going to have the best opinion of me. Understandable. This is why group is so powerful. Okay? Because it is amazing when this person shares this kind of stuff and the group is compassionate and says, hey, we understand that you did that. We understand it was wrong, but we're proud of you for like growing and working on it. It is the group's approval when you sit with feelings like this that makes groups so incredibly powerful. And this is the other important thing is when I say approval, they're not going to give you a pass, right? They're not going to say, oh, it's not your fault. They're not going to say that. I mean, most of the groups that I've run, that's not the way we train our coaches. What the group is going to do is help you be responsible for your actions, be compassionate towards you, even though you were in a bad place or even if you're a bad person now, and then they're going to help you work through it. That's what group is for. So when we talk about group, there are three things that we train our coaches in: authenticity, compassion, and presence. Notice that politeness is not there. Authenticity plus compassion. So be honest with people about how you feel about them. And this was really awesome. We had this interesting thing that happened in group. Happened a couple of times. Bizarre. Everyone thinks that they're the only one. So we had one person come in. Can I tell you guys a story about group? Okay, real quick, okay? So we had one person come in and say, on the fourth week of group, I think, they came in and they said, I have a confession to make. And then the group is like, what is that? And he's like, I've been lying to you guys for the last month. Nothing I said about who I am or what my problems are is true. Right? It's bizarre. And like, that is such a powerful step forward. Because then like the group is like, then we talk through that. How does it feel to be lied to? And then like the crazy thing is like, how do you guys think the group responded? What do you think the group said? So bizarre. Their answer was, we're proud of you. Okay? And like, he was like, I'm confused. Because then the group was like, you didn't have to tell us that. You could have gone the next 8 weeks and continued lying. So we're really glad you told us. And then the next thing was, so tell us about yourself. Right? So you've got a problem, so be it. Bring your problem to us. You've got dark parts of you, we all do. I mean, come on, man. This person who's reading this subreddit. Right? Like, they're like, we all have dark stuff, right? Like, no one's gonna say I could have been a school shooter on week 1. This is what they're gonna say. It's gonna be like bland stuff. One, I feel a bit nervous when I talk because I have social anxiety. So the group is gonna learn how to be safe with each other. So you guys are gonna put a toe in the water before you jump in, which is totally fine. And your facilitators are trained to deal with that. Right? So the facilitators are gonna teach you guys how to open up. They're going to teach you guys, you don't actually have to open up, but what you need to talk about is the resentment around opening up. That's where the money is. Right? And as you learn, as you work through that resentment, that's what's going to keep you from opening up. So we don't want you to force you to open up because you think that you have to confess everything in group. That's not what group is about. It's not about bearing all your internal feelings. It's about growing as a human being. And for this person, what you need to grow, the real point of growth is not everything that happened in the past. It's the resentment. Why do you have to open up? What do you feel resentful for? Are there other things that you resent in life? Because I would bet money that this person has been forced to do a lot of things that they did not want to do. Bet money. And that's what you need to work through. What is it like to live a life where you are forced to do things that you didn't want to do? What is it like to live a life where you like carry this resentment because you're supposed to do something and damn it, you don't want to. You don't want to, but you're forced to it. And then other people in the group are going to resonate with that. They're going to be like, yeah, I'm resentful too because of X, Y, and Z. And a third person says, I'm resentful because of A, B, and C. And then you guys all carry a piece of that resentment, and then there's like this AoE healing effect. Because each person in group has a piece of the puzzle. And this is the problem, is that we go through life like carrying our own burden, right? We're all playing the same game, but there's no communication. It's like before the internet existed, where like, you had no one to communicate and you were playing this game. And now we have the internet and it's gone the other end where like everything is on the wiki. So no one has to figure anything out ever because it's like, that's the end. All the information is there. So group is sort of partying up with a group of people to work through the things that you guys have to deal with. And whatever it is, bring it to group. There are cases where people really aren't appropriate for group. And that too, facilitators are trained to deal with. Sometimes people like just need too much kind of individual attention to succeed in group, and that's totally fine. Like our goal here at Healthy Gamer is to help people as much as we can and to meet people where they're at. And sometimes where they're at is not where they wind up. Or where they should be at is not where they wind up. So, and that's something where the group facilitator, like you can talk, and then the group facilitator will let you know whether like personal coaching is more appropriate or not. And there's also where the two aren't mutually exclusive and can also be done like back to back. So there are some situations where people will enter personal coaching for a certain number of weeks and then do group coaching, or they'll do both concurrently. And that works really well because they have like one place to like grow with other people. And then one place, like you have a dedicated healer and then you have like this AoE healing effect, etc. We do actually have a wiki, and we're going to have more stuff hopefully coming out for y'all soon, but there's a wiki. Right, where a lot of these terms and stuff that we share are actually there. But anyway, so that was great. I'm glad that this person posted. And, I think it's the subreddit, if you guys have experiences in coaching, I think it's reasonable to share them. If you guys have questions or like whether it was a good experience or a bad experience, I think our subreddit is an appropriate place to talk about it. We also have a Discord section for questions about coaching. If people have questions about that kind of stuff. And yeah, I thought that was French. That was a great suggestion. I'm glad we talked about that stuff because I was really tempted to respond to that person. I just didn't know if they were in coaching or not.
Yeah, posting like coaching situations definitely. What do you think about there are people who give advice? Like, is the quality good in your opinion?
For what?
on the subreddit?
Oh, I think the quality is overall is fantastic.
Okay, because I was gonna say like it's like the stuff people post on the subreddit is like different than what people typically ask in like viewer call-ins. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, so like this is where so I want people to understand. So like the stuff that's posted on the subreddit is not like official, right? It's not vetted by us. It's not like what I would say necessarily. But I think in general, I mean there's a reason why like all the posts have been like I read all the posts on our subreddit. And I read them because I learn a lot. Like I read it because the discussion there is really good. That's why I mean, I think for the most part, French. I don't know if that was the answer that you were looking for, but
Oh, like I think like I basically wanted to say like people should post like if they want to get, I guess, like an angle on a problem from our community. Like that's a good place to go over our Discord.
so like I just want to. Can I read one last one real quick?
Yeah.
So this is like a good example of like, what I think is, is. I'm going to read this and then let's figure out who to rate in the meantime, okay? So, I'm not good at anything and I'm starting to lose hope. Hi, Dr. K. I'm in my mid-20s and I can't find anything I'm good at. I keep trying new hobbies and I'm never good at anything, even when I put effort into it. At school, I was always told that I'm good, but I'm not working hard enough. At uni, I was useless and I was taking other people's opportunity to be there instead. At work, I always impress my bosses at first because I learn really fast, but after a few months, they start to expect more because, again, I'm good, but not working hard enough. In my personal life, nobody says nice things about me. They only talk about the things I need to improve and change. I do my best every day, and I see others doing way less, and nothing happens to them. See, this hurts, man. So hard, right? That haunts me everywhere I go. I'm never enough, even when I try. I don't know what career to pursue because I'm not passionate enough about anything, and at this point, I feel like it's useless to try. I feel like I'm so late to the party. Okay, here's a response, okay? You seem to be in a similar boat as me. Just going through uni right now, 20 years old since last month. I found that the approach I had been using was simply too much. Let me ask you, does this problem consume your day? Do you spend a lot of time brainstorming about how to get out of this conundrum, but never seem to be able to put your plans into action? Do you read a lot of psychology, neurology books, or research on matters such as willpower and motivation? That's what I used to do. And I found it was the problem. I think that we have a case of making a mountain out of an anthill. We spend so much time thinking of a solution to why we're so disinterested and inadequate that we make the big problem out to be much bigger than it used to be. And we are left with no energy to actually fix it. I don't think that what we need is any sort of sage advice. Personally, I've spent 19.5 years looking for the right advice or right plan that will ensure that I succeed in finding something I'm passionate about. That hasn't worked. But over the last couple of months, I've been steadily getting more productive and finding new hobbies. There was no secret wisdom that I needed. I just needed to stop overthinking and looking for the perfect plan. I just needed to act. As much as I could, which wasn't very much at first, but it increased. There is no hack or exploit to the game. You gotta just play normally and spend less time looking for such things. If I were to give you any advice, it would be to limit the amount of time you dwell on this problem to like 2 hours a day or something. Even that is pretty generous, right? Anything more than that is just inefficient. You've had this problem for over 20 years and you've been thinking the entire time of how to fix it. It's unlikely at this point that you'll discover anything new by pondering. I think that people's advice for you is misguided. You strike me as someone trying too hard, not too little. Less philosophizing, more doing. If you can't do the second half, then just do the first. The second will come on its own when you stop wasting so much energy on the first. And once you start to take action, you'll find it a lot easier than you thought. Don't push yourself too hard, though. It's a balancing act. There is no one answer or spammable exploit. That's been my experience. And anyway. Yeah. So yeah, people are saying, is this Dr. K alt account? Hell no, dude. So there are some things with that response that I kind of disagree with, right? But even if you like listen to today's call-ins, there's a lot of similarities, right? There's a lot of like looking for the perfect answer is what paralyzes you from trying. A lot of other elements here. I don't think that it's making a mountain out of a molehill. I would sort of disagree with that sentiment, but it's like kind of in the right vein, right? Because what this person is saying that, so it is a mountain. It's just his mountain. And so the person sort of segues into that towards the end when he kind of says, or he or she says, you know, I don't think you're not trying hard enough. I think you're trying too hard. And that sort of speaks to like, it's a huge mountain. But I think overall, like, I think the responses in the subreddit are good. I think this is the reason, like, this is why it's cool. Like, I'm thrilled when I read these responses, because it means that y'all are getting it, right? Like, people are like internalizing and applying what we do at Healthy Gamer, and they're starting to see change. And I've said for a long time that Healthy Gamer, it's not like Dr. K. Like this channel up in the top right corner, if you guys look at our logo, is not Dr. K. It's Healthy Gamer, right? It's like, it's about you. It's not about me. It's about your journey. I'm just here to help you guys out. But this is why I like our Discord and our subreddit and stuff and our coaching program so much, is like, I can't do it all, nor do I need to. That's the other thing. Because Dr. K can't reach everyone, but Dr. K doesn't need to reach everyone. And some people are like looking for answers from Dr. K, but I think this answer was pretty good. Like, it's kind of wild, but like, you know, people in chat were like, is this my alt account? No, it's not my alt account. It's just, there are a lot of people in this community. This has to be low on the cultimeter. Come on. What are you guys saying?
We need to recalibrate.
What are you talking about?
It's like a 1.
Yeah. No. It's not a cult. No, chat. Earlier we were cult. Dowsing pendant is a cult. Fine. I accept that. Energy healing cult. Find your inner true self, man. This is, you guys are doing this. You can't have a cult without you. Wait, hold on. That sounded so good, but came out wrong. Oh my god. Maybe we are a cult. Can't make a cult without you, chat. I don't even know. I think I've dug myself into a grave. It was just the memes were too good, chat. The clips were too good. I couldn't help myself. There's no I in cult. There's just a whole lot of you. Okay. But in general, so here's what I'd say. So for people who are participating in our community, first of all, thank you very much. Part of the reason that I don't respond is I feel like I don't need to, because a lot of people, you know, get most of it right. And it's not like my perspective is right. It's just like that I think they're producing helpful stuff to other people. But just take things with a grain of salt, because I know that like in our Discord questions, our coaching questions, you know, some people will say things that aren't, you know, they're not really speaking for the company, but, you know, I think, okay. And then, you know, the last thing is that, you know, this is what we're here to build, is we're here to build a place where you guys can help each other, because I can't get to everyone. And so, you know, there are tiers of that, right? Like, so like, I think our subreddit is awesome. I think our Discord is awesome. There was a post on our subreddit the other day ago about how like people on the Discord have been so awesome and helpful. So that's great. And then, you know, coaches are people who are actually like trained by us, right? So these are people who are trained in our more formal methodology. After years of looking through crap like this, I sat down and I was like, okay, what are the things that we want to focus on? Like, what are the things that we actually want, you know, people to understand? And this is what we want people to understand. And so that's us. That's Healthy Gamer. And who are we rating? Cult Holy Book. Wait, so I don't know. French? Any thoughts?
Okay, I know Raid Bill is like a Raid Joe, but what's the joke? Raid Bill. What does it mean?
Candace looks like a debate.
Yeah, it's like can these nuts. You know.
Everything is
Yeah.
these nuts.
Okay.
Okay, we can raise Botez. I don't think we've ever rated the Botez sisters, right?
I don't know.
Okay.
Wait, I have a question. Can you shift your camera to your left?
You want me to shift my camera to my left?
Yes.
My left. So this direction. I think I want to shift it the other way.
No.
Okay, we can sort this out.
No. I just want to see if there's still boxes. I gotta hit my KPI.
There may be boxes.
Oh, okay.
I cannot.
My performance at Healthy Gamer is rated by how clean Dr. K's room is.
Okay, who's a small streamer?
Miskiff is
But
just raid Botez.
Botez.
Yeah.
Let's raid Botez. Be nice, chat.
Well, like it's not because they're small streamer. It's just we were gonna do it before, you know.
If you guys want to raid a small streamer, you guys need to give me a small streamer to raid. If you just tell me raid small streamer, like I'm totally down, but y'all gotta tell me. We're gonna raid Botez today. You guys figure out who we're raiding on Wednesday. Figure out. You remember we raided a couple of small streamers. Those are awesome. So you guys find one, and then we'll raid it. Okay. All right. Take care, chat. We'll see y'all on Wednesday. I think we're doing an interview on Wednesday.
Yeah, substance
French?
abuse.
Substance
Interview.
use abuse related interview. Cool. See y'all. Take care.